welcome to Daily Life Connection. Thanks for joining me again today as we continue to celebrate this wonderful story. Luke chapter 15, Jesus revealing the heart of the Father. Today I want to look at the idea of this party, this celebration that's going on in the Father's house. They began to celebrate, it says, and then when the older brother comes home, he hears music and dancing. They're still celebrating. What I want us to focus on is that this celebration is the end of the story. The story ends with a great celebration going on in the Father's house, with those who've let him welcome them and embrace, those who are in relationship with him. He's celebrating and enjoying music and dancing and feasting. It is an amazing celebration, amazing party. And of course, the sad point is, and we'll talk about that later, is that outside there is still this son out there, the older son, seething in anger out in the darkness. Anyway, I wanted to look at this celebration, that the story ends with celebration, and put it back in that concept of, I think this story encompasses the whole scope of the gospel, of everything, from Genesis to Revelation. We talked about that earlier. And I know it may not be, I may be wrong about this, but I really think it does give us an overall picture from Genesis to Revelation. Excuse me. You know, we have, in the beginning of the story, we have the father who has two sons at creation. And that goes back to Genesis, God who has children. He creates children, and he gave them everything. And then we have this picture of these two sons, one who rebels and runs away from the father, and then the other who becomes religious and separates himself from the father through his religion. And that has been the story of humanity all down through the centuries. Then, of course, we have this wonderful reunion where the son is welcomed back and he's restored, and the robe, the ring, the sandals, his position, his status is completely restored, and he's welcomed back into the kingdom. That's the story of redemption. That's the story of Jesus redeeming us and giving us his righteousness and his authority and enabling us to live in a whole new way as children of God. That's that wonderful story. And then the celebration, I think, is partly Revelation, the book of Revelation, where there's this ongoing great, fantastic gala, this great celebration, this great banquet feast that's going on. So if we look at it in that way, the good news here today is simply this: the whole story from Genesis to Revelation ends in celebration. It ends in celebration. We may be in this middle time when we feel like, there's a lot of darkness in the world, and there is a lot of horror, a lot of things that are so ungodly and so unloving and hateful and just awful, horrid things that happen in our world. And we may wonder, how's this all going to end? I mean, so many times people talk about, wow, this could be the end of the world because everything's getting worse. Christians, let's not stop there. Let's raise our eyes up and look beyond the current situation to the promises of God for the end of all things. And the end of all things are eternal celebration, an eternal party. That, all the things that the people in our world are looking for. Everybody wants to party. Everybody wants to celebrate. Everybody wants to experience the good life. And what God is showing us here is that's his intention for us. He will bring that to pass. He will bring that to pass. So hang on, hold on, enjoy the celebration while you can now. But the reality is, don't despair, because for every one of us, the end of all God's story, if you will, the end of God's story, the never-ending story, is celebration. It's the joy and the fullness of God's presence. It's rejoicing and reunion and restoration and feasting and nourishment. And it is all of the good things that make us glad, that gladden our heart. All the things that bring us joy are wide openly available to us at the end of all times, at the end of our lives, at the end of history as we know it. It is celebration. That is incredibly good news. Again, more evangelism, more good news to share with people. Everything's going to end really, really, really well for anyone who wants to be embraced by Abba, for anybody who wants to be part of his kingdom. It's going to end really, really well, because all of eternity is a grand celebration like you have never known, like you can't imagine. Like, just, think of the very best party or celebration you've ever had. Like I remember we were at Disney for one of their anniversary things, and the fireworks and the parades and the all of the special features and the food, and I just what a grand celebration. Nothing compared to what God has in store for us, what He has in store for us who love Him. It's going to be just incredibly amazing and fantastic. So let's just take time today to give Him thanks for that and to rejoice at the end of the story. It ends really, really, really well. It ends with a grand eternal celebration. That's good news today. Let's think about it. We'll talk again tomorrow.